So before we break for lunch, we can just take in Mr. Rajiv Lumpur on the human project. After which we'll break for lunch. And so all of us will come back after that for the proceedings after that. We're running about 20 minutes behind time. We can make it up here. So, Mr. Lumpur?
Should we break or we are
No,
having?
we'll take Mr. Lumpur and then after that.
Thanks, Professor Desai. I think I've not met you formally, but the emails, and somehow I'm here. Quite an odd lot from, I think, great heavyweights all around. So I'll just try and run through my presentation quickly. If you can. Sorry. Well, from the basic note that we all saw to create a dialogue, a platform for dialogue. I somehow felt I'm an architect from my background. Have not really built any building myself, so haven't really done justice to what I've learnt. But I've been on the periphery of design all through these years, and knowing the backdrop of the IITs and the NIDs and all the great institutions, I think design in India is a subject. How to deal with it is a very structured subject which already has a lot of attention on it, and I think all day I've seen it's very well addressed. But design for India, being in the field and working in the field for clients, for people, trying to facilitate the processes, I somehow felt design for India is something that really needs to be debated more. Aman has just taken a great spell on it, and his works and the works they've been doing really outline one key area where anybody who wants to really engage with India has to face a series of problems. I think the biggest problem has been built is of perception, and the word ethnic or traditional or any of these words which reflect our past are kind of seen as looking backwards. So that particular part is what I'll just look at through two projects that we are working on currently, and one I've been a part of earlier. So yeah, this is the 8 minutes on design for India. And the design for India really means putting a perspective on our cultural past. And design is an act of making something new. So it is not a repetition or a reproduction. It is an act of creating something new. But something that has a cultural link to our past, I think we will be able to own it as our own, as something that we create as Indians for ourselves. This is a project, I'll briefly run through two projects. So this is a project we did, I was part of in Jaipur. It's Jalmal. I think anybody has been to Jaipur would have seen this. This monument was in absolute ruins for I think a century, and lately government took it up as a PPP project. I think about 10 years back. I was heading the project, and I've seen through this entire transformation of the monument and the lake, which was also a sewage dump. This is something which has happened, and it's been completed about 4 years back. But what's interesting is the journey that we went through when we started with this idea of working with history. And I don't come from a conservation background, neither were the investors who were putting money into the project. This is a PPP, so there were private investors putting money. Neither did they come from any conservation background or actually any sense of being part of combined cultural heritage at the build platform. Individually, I think all of us are very, very Indian. We have our own ways of doing things. We somehow have separated our lives, our working lives, from our actual professions or occupations. So for Jal Mahal, these were the three targets we set for ourselves. We are going to restore, of course, because the monument was in absolute ruins. It needed restoration, but we are not going to stop there. It's not going to be restored just to be a relic from the past, but we also wanted to revive it and also to reinvent it, to make it part of the mainstream, to make it attractive and interesting. Historically, it had been a great place, is what we were told. There's no written account of this building, so there was a slate which was absolutely clean. To reinvent was a massive task because you really need to think like probably the rulers in those days would have thought, why would somebody make a building in the middle of water? What was the context? But at the same time, if you were to just reproduce another garden or another monument into inside this building, probably it would be a very boring exercise by itself. So it is restoration, but with a completely new approach to it. We developed certain tools which we used in making of the project. So transformation is really the key idea that everybody is a big team that worked on it. Historians, craft experts, conservation architects, everybody came together, but transformation is what we were looking for, not restoration. And transformation which is led through innovation of developing technology and aesthetics, more importantly aesthetics, that actually works in our context, that doesn't feel like it's been reproduced from the past. It has a new thing about it because of the way everything comes together. Collaboration, of course, we've been talking since morning. Actually, any design-led initiative has to grow. Collaboration is really the key, and an ecosystem-based approach, which I'll just touch these subjects quickly. Innovation within the traditional framework is actually a very rare thing. When we were working, we had a fair amount of time to research and found there's very, very little work, especially in the architecture domain, that's happening that deals with innovation of contemporizing aesthetics and materials to make them applicable in today's time. So we had a fair bit of a run on it, and it's only because of that freshness we're finding a lot of young people, new people, people which have very high aspirations of making the Italian house in Jaipur, would actually aspire for something which is coming out from their own soil and find it aspirational at the same time. The team, the collaborative team, these are some of the people. The team is actually much bigger. So we have architectural historians. I mean, it's an international team. People from everywhere were involved, and I mean, we were lucky with Jaipur being Jaipur. There are so many people who have a very strong emotional connect with this city, and that kind of allowed us to tie everybody together. Transformation, physical transformation is much easier. It is transformation of hearts which we are talking about when we are referring to a monument. A building has to have some impact in a person's feeling for it. And whenever somebody touches an old building, there's always an instant conversation on he's going to ruin it. It was much better before. It's going to go to the dogs. It's if you're not careful about it, it's going to go this way or that way. That's always been the case, and I think that keeps us away from our history in a very big way. We don't want to engage with it because we feel it's very touchy-feely thing. You touch it and somebody will have a problem with it. So transformation which leads to people's acceptance was really very important for us. Ecosystem-based approach was involved in the entire project, but the key ecosystem we were concerned with is the cultural ecosystem in which we existed, that building. And I mean, I think every project, whether it is dealing with textiles or it is dealing with buildings or it is dealing with an industrial product, works within an ecosystem which is its own ecosystem. It's very important as a design process if we realize that upfront and respond to it as an ecosystem which is cultural references, not just functional, mechanical, programmatic, but also cultural. And we were able to deal with it wherein a building once completed became part of everybody's daily perception. People loved it, not only because it was restored, but also there was something new in it for the entire city to look at. So that's one project, and quickly go to another one which is also happens to be in Jaipur. These two projects have actually tested two different ideas. One is dealing with the past and trying to make it relevant to today, while the second project, it's a mainstream commercial building with 5 lakh square feet of office space and retail and whatever that goes with a building like that. Right at the opposite end of Jaipur, right next to the airport. So there is hardly any cultural context around us. We are just surrounded with a whole lot of wannabe buildings which are glass, steel, and everything that our urban environment is covered with. And for this project, we actually we thought there should be a core idea, which is very important for any design exercise. There should be a core idea around which we build, and we set ourselves with two objectives, very simple two objectives. One is the building should belong to Jaipur, and it should look like it is from Jaipur, and it should not be confused with everything else that's happening all around. And so we needed a strong anchor. And second, which is completely tangential to the first one, is we need to use one of the craft techniques as a primary skin for the building. And the idea was to get rid of glass somehow as an experiment, try it out and see what happens. So with these two ideas together, we started working. We had series of workshops. We set a team together. I mean, unlike I think Aman, we had, I mean, I'm just carrying to your presentation, but we had fair amount of international people coming in, but they were driven by a certain brief, which was, I thought, was very strong and very local, which insisted on everybody responding to that idea of where we stand and what we want to build. So after doing I think almost 6 months of work on trying to find a visual vocabulary, and it is very, very difficult. Even for a city of Jaipur, to find a visual vocabulary, what we're looking for is contemporary Jaipur. And it's unfortunate, I mean, so many great architects have built in Jaipur, but there is hardly anything that we can say is a contemporary Jaipur aesthetic vocabulary. Historical Jaipur is flooded with visual imagery. I mean, all over the world people understand it, but contemporary Jaipur is a blank. We looked at architectural references, we looked at paintings, we looked at every form, and not only looked at it, we actually applied them to buildings till we stumbled upon Leheria, and this particular form of Leheria, which is used for pagdi, and realized that there is a very strong link of this form, this craft technique, to the city of Jaipur, to the pride of Jaipur, and it's a tradition which is on its almost on its last legs in its refined form, the form that we are seeing this image, or these, which were all images of historical fabric which was used for pagdis by the kings and in their courts. So Leheria by itself gave a great storyline, and then the story has been built around it. This is the progression. We have not yet reached the closure of it. So one section of the story which builds on the idea of a local motif, local iconography, try to make and work with it in a contemporary fashion. And the second was the parallelly running was the craft exercise of trying to find a right craft material that we can bring on and celebrate that craft as our skin. And we visited Muradabad for metalworks, we visited Firozabad for glass, and we visited Khurja for ceramics, and Sikandra for stone. This was like a palette which also was geographically all around us. These are areas very close to Jaipur, and that was the idea, to be able to connect with one of these craft clusters. Finally, the team zeroed in on a ceramic, and this is a product, this is the application of the ceramic. It's like a bouquet, very simple contraption, but to have it manufactured out of the industry, the kind of unorganized segment that ceramic is, we've been working on it for now 8 months. We are coming quite close to our final product. It's very, very satisfying. We've now expanded ourselves between two clusters. So the one is Khurja, there's another is Thangad. These are some of the images. It's still work in progress, nowhere near completion, but there is a color palette which is continuously evolving. This is not the final palette. We're still working on it. The inspiration comes from the Leheria being applied. The architecture responds to the local climate. It's got the narrow lanes, the small courtyards, the tiny spaces that are required in our climate zone. Almost entire building is self-shading. Yeah, these are some further evolutionary exercises on the Leheria, and it's 65,000 pieces of this ceramic which is going to go onto the building. Probably will be the largest application of architectural ceramic in the country. I don't know since when, and it will be a self-supporting structure. This is the final set of prototypes that are currently happening, and we are able to achieve our size, which we were initially told is not possible. We have also actually devised a structural system that allows this to be suspended. So it's a brand new product coming out of a very small scale industry, and I think same exercise could be applied to so many buildings, so many products and craft techniques. It's just the fact that we are not engaging. And I mean, from the 90s when we were working as architects, we always felt there was a paucity of budget in the country. There was never enough money. There was always this thing that, you know, we want to do this, but there's no money. We want to do this, but there's no money. And today, there is enough money. There's money all around, and nobody knows what to do with it. And people are going all over the world to shop for things, for the best things that they can bring out from wherever they can go and buy. While the actual design fraternity, which is here, has somehow, I think, so here I am just putting the three key ideas, which I think is where design for India is. There is a segment of design which was kind of created overnight with the independence, which is the idea of the new India, which is so design which was born in 1947 with the independence, with the new institutions which were set up. They had a very forward-looking attitude to everything, so kind of shut the door looking backwards. Then there's a second ecosystem of design which probably is religious based or personal attributes of each of the communities, which refuses to contemporize itself altogether. They believe in sticking to their own domain, and they love it that way. They are happy to segregate their lives, their outside life and their inside life. And the third is what our generation belongs, is very aspirational, is looking at the entire world, wants to adapt anything that happens anywhere, bring it instantly down. For probably for a token of being Indian, you just adapt it. You probably write it in Devanagari, or you really just put some dhoti wala person on it, and you adapt that idea, which is actually a complete import, and call it local. So that's where do we reach with this kind of an attitude on design? When we look all around us, I mean, I think any place that we look around, this hotel is a great example. This meeting room is a great example. All around us, we are surrounded by products which we have actually played no role in creation, but we are happily consuming it. We have not improvised on most of the things that have been given to us. We have been using them as it is. So what do we like that we see around us? I think that really, for me, was what the curriculum or the idea of the new university should, or the college should look at, is what do we like that we see around us, and start picking up from there. Do we want to be global, or we want to be Indian? That's a really a very important question for us to look at. And or we seek to be an Indian with global understanding, which would be ideal, but then we need to really know what the Indian identity is. That, I don't know, India being a country of the size that it is, leaves us with so many questions that we always try to brush it off rather than look at all the components together. Like Professor Ranjan's book, which came after so many years, is one book which actually documents all the crafts in the country together in a form that everybody can access. These kind of efforts are now happening after such a long time, that the entire generation our age and younger people have actually lost track of India altogether. They are so happy consuming in the globalized world that for them, buying something out of Germany or something out of India, having an aesthetic sense that connects us to ourselves, is completely lost. How it can come back, I think that's really what design for India should look at. So identity is my key thought. If we have and if we can put together an idea of the Indian identity, great minds are all around. I mean, there are people still alive. I think 30 years down the line, 50 years down the line, looking at the trajectory where we are going, probably there'll be very little of this left. So it's a great time. It's the tipping point to actually figure out if we can start putting things together. We are building so much all around us. If we can pay some attention to who we really are, and not look backwards, but look, connect the past to go forward. So, are we in the business of adapting for India, or we are in the business of creating for India? That's yeah.
So after this very exhilarating narrative that twists Lahiriya Sari into a beautiful building, and I think aptly responds to some of the issues that Aman raised. And personally, for someone who's seen a stagnant Jal Mahal without the Jal and just the Mahal and the Dam, to become something revitalized again. It's the right note to break for lunch, I think. So we can all break for lunch now. Aman, yes?
That for doing that Jal Mahal, the person involved actually has a warrant of arrest for him? Actually, no, it's the same story.
Yeah, there is actually quite a terrible story. I didn't touch the entire
No, but it's important
controversy,
to
but
know
yeah,
that. It's
true.
important to know what we face when we do
True.
this. And my definition of PPP in Rajasthan is not private-public partnership, but the private party's problem. It's actually just put on you. Everything that the government is supposed to do, you are supposed to do. They can't do it, they won't do it, and they won't let you do it. And when you do it, they'll penalize you and harass you. So you can vouch for that.
So actually, I've seen that entire process so upfront, and this was my first brush. But we have seen literally from our eyes NGOs being propped up overnight, newspapers, changing tracks, writing 300 articles on a subject they care nothing about, writing after everything is done. I mean, all of that is also part of the same process. But we are not. I mean.
I think this is important to understand. Design is politics. We've been saying it for 50, 40 years, but nobody's listening because it's about our intentions to change something, and surely it's treading on somebody's toes. So we have to take this into account, but our design schools haven't been taking it. It's looked as if it's a technology. It looked at, and you sprinkle, science and liberal arts as a filler on top of technology. It doesn't work. It has to be integral to that. Economics, politics, psychology, sociology has to be integral to this process of creating and making.
So actually, one of the purposes for doing the design education manifesto is to look at some of the constraints and see how they can be negotiated. It's not going to be simple, but we need to be at least asking those complex questions, bringing them on the table, and see how they can be dealt with. That itself is like what I called earlier designing policies. How do you use design conflicts and design difficulties to influence for the, you can say.
I don't want to stop people from taking lunch, but I think
No,
it's
yeah.
important. There was a book in the 70s called Design, Nature, Revolution by Thomas Maldonado. He again, going back to Ulm, he went on to create the, Politecnico di Milano. And, the foundation is how do you blend these things together? We've been keeping them separate, but we need to blend it together in a way that they can work. And that's really what.
Good, so that's a task set out for ourselves when we close this workshop and then continuing the dialogue. But right now we can just maybe break for lunch and have